Come on in, guys. Welcome to Plz Survive. I'm Molly, and this is my first season of Survivor.
I'm ROBGOD, the Rob God, and I'm a casual Survivor watcher who's getting hair in funny places after this blood moon.
And I am Jessica, never purple Jessica, because I always speak. And despite Survivor not wanting me to. And I am the super fan.
Yes.
I saw a video of someone. I'm getting Survivor in all my feeds, and I saw a video come up of someone explaining the concept of being purpled, and I was like, I know this. I've
You know
known
this.
Like, come on now. Even I know it. So here we are.
Here we are. I believe that was first even informed to me. That was news to me when I first met you, Jess, when we were doing the Special Forces podcast with
That's
Molly.
right.
Well, you both hosted it. I guested on an episode, and that's where this idea blossomed.
I know.
Yeah.
Me thinking I knew, I was like, oh yeah, I got this Survivor thing down, and then just immediately hit with the like, you think you know, you have no idea.
Can I say that when you guys asked me if I wanted to do a Survivor podcast, I think it happened on that show, like while we were recording, I, for some reason, had it in my mind that Survivor had like a 24 episode order. And so that was another thing where I was sort of like, well, this is like a huge thing they're asking. Like, how could you just ask someone to start a Survivor podcast? I thought that it was going to be the next 6 months of my life. And
Hell no.
no, it's like 13 episodes.
Has it always been 13, Jess?
I don't think so. I think they've had more.
Yeah, I guess when they used to do longer times on the island too, there's probably.
Yeah. Like when they did the 39 days.
But this is why it was so easy to get to 50 seasons, because it's,
It's
2
two a
seasons
year.
Yeah. But it didn't always was it always 2 a year? I think it was 1 a year for like the first few years. Or maybe I was just young and don't remember.
I think
Because I got to say, I was actually looking back at something today and I was like, wow, Ozzy's a couple years older than me, not by much. And I remember watching Ozzy in his first seasons, and I thought I was like watching it like when I watched at home with my family. But then looking it up, his first season was 2006. So I would have been out of high school. I would have been out of the house at this point. I was like, is he lying about his age? Because if he's only 2 years older than me, and I was watching this in like 2001, then, and then I was like, damn, 2006. I must not have really caught him on that scene. It must have been a rewatch later on in life.
Well, it also makes sense why Jenna from season 1 could play this year and like wasn't even that old.
Mm-hmm.
Because like her first season, she was like 21 or 22.
Yeah. This is Ozzy, I think, was 20, right? When he started, something like that.
It
Anyway.
didn't even occur to me that Ozzy could have played this game when he was young. I thought that he was from like 8 years ago. You're right. Mike White might have looked him up at that restaurant.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
When you say it that way. This episode was, I want to own it first and foremost, not the episode that I was expecting. I
agree.
had such high hopes for what this episode would be. As you guys, if you listened to the last episode, would know, in my advice segment, I was like, yeah, you should like make them rip each other limb from limb. And like, this should be the craziest thing. They should have to fight for their lives, only for it to be the lamest surprise ever. Jess was exactly dead on. The exact thing where I was like, come on, Jess, you're not in a season 50 mindset. I didn't consider that you have probably been let down by this show a million times. Like, anytime you wanted it to go big, it just stayed medium. And when I found out what the prize was, and we'll really get to it in a bit, when I found out what the prize was for this like challenge, I lost my fucking mind. I thought they were going to get an extra $1 million. I thought that I don't know what I thought they were going to get like automatic rights to kick someone off the show. Like, I had no idea.
Well, I just want to note,
roll.
I'd like to note that as you were saying this, people who watch these episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and now Apple Podcasts will note that as Molly was saying that, Jess was rolling up her sleeves like she is getting ready to go in.
So I'm leading this week. And I don't know why I feel confident doing this, but this was always what we would hoped to work to. So I guess we
Confidence.
should maybe start with, the fact that it's day 12. That was surprising to me for some reason. And then also Ozzy taking Rizzo to Exile Island and how we feel about that. I didn't really know what Exile Island was. I thought that maybe that was where they were going to go to get eliminated.
Well, I believe it was an entire season's theme one time was Exile Island.
Cerie's first season, season 12, Panama, is called Survivor Exile Island, but it's also called Survivor Panama.
And that would be like, if you lost a challenge or at a certain point or any sort of hook, right, Jess? You'd go there?
Yeah, it would be like pick one person to send to exile, and that person would go alone, not with a partner. And it was like a lot rougher.
Yeah.
Because it also was Panama, not Fiji. And it could be like until the next challenge, which would be like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like
by yourself, no fire, no
right.
nothing.
Like you had to make your own fire, you had to catch your own fish. Like
you were truly exiled. But I gotta say, and I know we're gonna talk the strategy beyond about bringing Rizgod to it, but I kind of felt like Ozzy there. Be like, damn. Like I've had to stress like this entire time, and now I can just like kind of sit back and go swimming and not have to like truly worry about anything, especially knowing that they didn't have to go to tribal for it either. Like I'm just gonna go hang out.
It also was so perfect that he was like, I hope it's not going to exile. And then it was exile because he like maybe has spent the most time on exile out of like any Survivor player ever.
Yeah. He's had to go a lot and climb them coconut trees a lot.
Is this his third time on the show?
No.
I think it's like 5.
Jesus Christ.
Cook Islands, Micronesia, Game Changers, South Pacific, and then this one, 5. And Cerie's 5th also.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or 6 if you count Australia versus the world.
I think that counts.
Yeah, I would
too.
say Survivors Australia, as you've said before, Jess, is like American Survivor X.
Yeah, they actually do physical challenges.
Yeah. But I think it was pretty smart to bring Rizgod. I think that was a good move strategically.
I think it was an incredible move. I think it was the exact perfect person. And I think that he explained the reasons why well, that nobody would really care or miss Rizzo, and he would be sort of inconsequential to any of the votes. And he also is not going to win a challenge.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's the Cerie bonding with it.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Most importantly, yeah. So that she could have her polycule.
Was loving the memes about how the two of them fucked at Exile Island. And I loved the way that it's heightened over the past like few days. It's just gotten more and more raunchy. And I will say that I am a little bit surprised by how much of the vocal like base for Survivor on maybe like Twitter, for example, which has become a more and more conservative, they seem to be libs. Gay libs as well. And I like love that. I guess it's only recently occurred to me how many of the people on this show, and I hope it's okay if I get political, how many of the people on this show might actually be very conservative or specifically like MAGA, which is, I think, different than regular conservative. There was apparently a MAGA phone call, like there was a MAGA alliance or something with Stephanie and Joe, and did I hear Colby was in there?
So it's the Zoom Alliance.
Which apparently didn't even actually happen on Zoom.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's not like necessarily a MAGA alliance, but it's not liberal people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. So wait,
although most liberals are centrists at best anyway, so if we're going to get political about this, then no, it is hard to see that Colby would be there, but I think it's wishful thinking to think Colby would vote in the way I would like him to vote.
I don't think that any of the discussions, like while they were pre-gaming, involved talking about the Iran war or, federal spending or anything like that. So
maybe ICE.
Yeah, like maybe that. So,
but I know. What if there's a bunch of illegal immigrants start doing Survivor and taking their jobs? But I will say that I I do think that it's interesting that that might be a tie there because it's sort of this like, we've got to watch out for each other, man. We have to have each other's backs, with like these young kids. And I just, I was very intrigued by the idea of like that maybe being the bonding point for them. Can I ask, do we know coaches politics?
I don't. I feel like it's not good. But what did you guys think of the cut from the same cloth comment from Chrissy? Did you take that as just like what it meant when we were kids, where it just meant like, oh, like we like grew up the same way, or did you take it as a dog whistle?
I
I
mean,
mean, she
oh,
lives in the villages,
yeah.
so that paints a picture for me there.
I don't
I
know what
don't
that means.
It's that retirement home in Florida that's like 50 and up, and it's like those big, they're like huge, like compounds, and they're kind of known, I would say, like anecdotally, people talk about them a lot in terms of the high STD rates.
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
also, like, notably extremely MAGA. Like, someone in my family lives there that is not MAGA and is like, "I cannot believe that I can't throw a freaking stone without there being, like, a parade of golf carts with these flags." Anyway, I don't think it was intended as a dog whistle, but I think sometimes when you're already that deep in, the things you do are dog whistles. Like, I think she was just like, we're cut from the same cloth. We're the same sort of thing. But in doing so, that's what that is.
I mean, like, I trust Tiffany if she has weird feelings about
Yes.
Chrissy. Like, I
Yes.
trust that that's legit. Although, I wouldn't be surprised if Chrissy was someone who probably genuinely would say, like, it didn't even occur to me that
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
be thinking like that, and she wouldn't know that that's, like, could be
That's what I'm
seen a
saying
certain
too.
way
Yeah.
when she didn't go
Yeah.
out of her way to,
Right.
I don't know,
Like she
ever speak to Tiffany?
like well, and like Stephanie is like absolutely MAGA, like no doubt.
Yes.
Chrissy, I don't know. I had thought that she was like centrist, so I would give her the benefit of the doubt, but interesting nonetheless, and I certainly have seen it being talked about all over. But I think that it's like it's setting up really interestingly where we used to not have, I mean, we used to have the themes, and it almost is like theming itself in the way that alliances are forming.
hmm
Do you guys feel like that?
Yes, but I don't know exactly what the themes are besides old school, new school, Gen X versus Gen Z versus millennial. That's what it's feeling like
S-
for me.
So
Yeah, I think that too.
I see it as like three alliances that honor and integrity like nonsense, which
hmm
has all old school plus Jonathan. And then I see the nerds with like Devins, Aubrey, Christian, Emily. And then I see everybody else, people who I would want to hang out with, like Suri, Ozzy, Dee, Tiffany.
It's a high school lunchroom.
But I think that that group is also a Venn diagram with Christian's group, whereas Christian's group, I don't think is a Venn diagram of the honor and integrity. I think Suri and Rizzo's group can sort of, at least the Suri Rizzo part and Ozzy part, can kind of like dangle on the outsides of both.
I was kind of surprised when Devin said that, like, he viewed someone like Joe as beyond return for him. Like, he's like, I just don't think Joe will ever. And based off what we've seen, there was that one time that Devin sort of rolled his eyes at Joe's like whole honor integrity thing, which I wouldn't tolerate either.
Right.
No, especially since we know they had that huge blow up. Like, what I'm seeing from Joe, and I'm extrapolating on what I know here and the type of people I've met in my life. So I recognize I'm not going with all the information, but Devin seems like a what you see is what you get, if you like it or not. Joe seems like I really want you to perceive me in a type of way which you can cut right through, especially when someone talks so much about how they need to have this honor and integrity, but explodes on someone while playing a game. Right. Like, and I
Yeah.
understand that it can get heated and like you're not eating a lot and stuff, but that was like what, the second episode of the
Right.
season? Like, chill out, man. And when I heard all about that fight, and then it reminded me this episode when they get put on the same tribe and Joe is just like playing in the sand by the beach while everyone else does other stuff at camp. I'm like, yeah, this is who you are, man. Like, this is what you get. You can be all honor, integrity, all you want, but if you're an asshole, like how they treat you.
The only reason he wasn't voted out is because Aubrey's arch nemesis was Genevieve. So Aubrey said, "Can we vote Genevieve out instead?" Otherwise, if it had been any other person, I feel like Joe would have been the person they voted out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah. I thought that there was a moment that I really liked. This was a little later on, but I will say in advance, Dee is really shaping up to be a chaotic wild card for me. And maybe that will go into my advice a little bit later. But she's one of those people that I think is actually very, very intelligent. But if I was interacting with her like on the ground there, I'd be like, what is this chick fucking stupid? Like, it's like, 'cause she's so chaotic. And that's the type of person to me where I always underestimate them because I just cannot make sense of the way they move. When Cerise said to her, "Do you gamble?" And she goes, "No, why? Should I?" I was like, what did you think she was going to be like? Oh yeah, I've actually been making decent money on play picks. Like, what did she think?
Let me get my poker chips out right here. That was my luxury item.
Do I need to start playing Texas Hold'em with Boston Rob?
And like, unfortunately, my personality, like the way that I would have sat there and been like, can you get with the fucking program? Like, what do you think I'm talking to you about? You know what I mean? And maybe that's me not realizing like how much time they kind of have to talk about any fucking thing. But I was a little like, what's going on with her? Spider monkey energy, you know?
So we've talked about Emily being chaotic. Do you tell me what you think is the difference between those two chaos agents?
Type A and Type B.
And who would you rather play with?
Type A and Type B, and I'd probably want to play with Emily because I could probably get a read on her more. Like, if her chaos is going to be like she's going to spill a secret, the answer is easy. Like, she just don't tell her shit, you know? And like, also, I would have been doing, sort of my advice to Christian a couple of weeks ago, which is like, you need to get a grip on her and like tell her to shut her mouth if you're going to stay on the same alliance, right? I wouldn't even know how to approach Dee because some of the strategizing they were doing together this week, it just felt so chaotic the way that it all came out so quickly that Ozzy has this boomerang idol. Like, they were all talking about it. And in fact, I wrote in my notes how deeply funny I found it by the time it was Coach telling Jonathan about it. And it was like they were the last two talking about it. And I was just like, oh, it's bad when like the dad type are like finally getting the gossip that it's been flying around the camp. And Coach, I really thought Coach was so funny in this episode. Like, I enjoyed him a lot.
I thought the editing of that, of like the telephone, scene of like, Aubrey has an idol, Ozzy has an idol, like all of that was funny. And I thought like they actually were on that beach for hours, but the frantic nature of the edit, I felt like it was, like really, and in Camilla's exit interview, she actually said that she had focused her time speaking to just a few people for a longer period of time. And she thinks that is one of the things that hurt her because she didn't like scamper and meet everybody. And she regrets that.
I also think that like blind side of Jonathan didn't help either.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think like trying to be, if everyone's scattering and doing that sort of stuff, you got to be in on that too, even if it's not what you want to do. I mean, I hate to give advice this early in the episode, but I can totally get that. I think I saw that interview too, Jess. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the interviews this week, so I do want the tea from you guys. But wait, Jess, I want to know from you, would you prefer Emily or Dee? Why?
Because I think that when I needed to know something, I could be like, okay, no bullshit. Like, no bullshit. Are we yes or no? Come on. And with Emily, I feel like she would just be like, what do you mean? I always am no bullshit. Like, I wouldn't be able to like really find a use for that. Also, I definitely know that I would backstab Dee because she already won. So I wouldn't feel bad about that. So I would feel better about aligning with her because I wouldn't feel as bad when I eventually went against her.
Didn't Flippin win too?
No, they were on the same season, and D won that season.
Got it. God, can you imagine? I know Rizzo mentioned, like, I can't believe I get to be on an island with, like, the coach. And so he has that sort of fan POV, which is really sweet at times and annoying at others. But I wonder, Emily and Dee really had an attitude about coach that I thought was very funny, where, they probably also, like, thought coach was a great player or like admired him from the game or whatever, right? They probably enjoyed watching him on TV. Maybe no, you don't think so?
He's entertaining. He's not good. Like, I think people like watching him, but I don't think people respect his game.
Yeah.
I'll say that for me, when I've been welcomed into like rooms or environments that like I only could have dreamed of like having been there earlier in my life. Like when I was younger, it never occurred to me that I could be around these people or have this type of job or whatever. There's a very interesting transition to me when all of a sudden you find yourself being like, God, this guy like fucking sucks or whatever. And I thought it was just, I wondered about that. Like if any of them are maybe having a little bit of a trip with playing with like a Colby or some of these older players where they're like, damn, I like loved this person on TV, but like now that I'm here, I kind of see what everyone was saying.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really been anybody like that yet. I feel like the people who I thought were going to be awful, like I've actually liked them. Like I used to, in Devin's first season, I could not stand him. Like I find him more likable now, but like we're reaching the tipping point with him and Christian. But yeah,
I could
I don't
tell
know.
he annoyed people when they first got to the island and he was doing his idol bit. Like, I could tell that they were all sort of rolling their eyes at that being his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Although I think maybe people didn't like Charlie.
I also agree. I think, well, I've had my thoughts on Charlie, but can I ask? I just want to switch things up a little bit since we're talking about like dislike and stuff. Look, we know Genevieve went home. It was a crushing blow to us all. Do any of us have any idea why her and Aubrey did not get along? Like, this is a thing that keeps frustrating me every single episode because something is missing here for me, and I'm so frustrated that I don't get it because
me
this is the
too.
sort of stuff that is like with Genevieve going home. We obviously got a little bit more screen time from her this episode, but it does feel like for so long it felt like, I know that Aubrey also didn't like her, but we saw so much more Genevieve that it felt like Genevieve was heading the charge of this situation, which also doesn't feel real.
So Genevieve said that they had multiple conversations like the one that we saw on the beach, and that was one of the better conversations. That the
Yes.
other conversations that we didn't see were actually more unpleasant. And she said that Aubrey just didn't want to work with her, and she doesn't have any other answer than that. They reconciled post game. They haven't spoken. She doesn't have her coat back. Whatever.
I can see Aubrey being annoyed by how ambitious Genevieve is. And like, because Genevieve is very, in the moments I've seen, she's very on, Well, I guess we can skip to just talking about Genevieve now because I had a feeling that that's what happened when I messaged you guys to say that I could not fucking believe what the surprise was. And you said like, I'm not going
Same.
to say who, but I have some feelings about tonight. And I was like, oh, that means Genevieve's probably
Same.
home.
I was like, Genevieve. And I also was like, and if it's not Genevieve, it's Camilla. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I will say that I think the first time that I watched this the other night, this was the first one I watched in real time. That's how much I was looking forward to it. I thought, I think I was thinking of you, Jess, and I was thinking like, oh, that's so unfair. But then when I rewatched it today, I have to say that like she just took a huge swing, and going for Christian was the absolute wrong. I was like, kind of like, not like, how dare she, but I was just sort of like, how could she how could she not realize that, like, going up to Christian and being like, let's just like take out your best friend on this island? It felt like a big push for me. So I want to know from you why in particular you were so disappointed by this.
Because she found 2 idols, didn't get to keep them, and then got on a tribe with her nemesis and that person's alliance in such a small tribe. Like, there was nowhere to maneuver.
She's
Like,
so unlucky.
the game mechanism didn't work. Like, there's no reason why somebody should be able to find 2 idols, like, let alone 1. Like, I get it. Like, maybe in the first, like, before they merged, maybe they should have been able to have the idols, but they should have expired or something, or they should have gotten them back. Like, or
The
they should have gotten
boomerang should.
like, they
Sorry.
should have gotten like half an idol, and then they give the other half to somebody, and then when they meet up on the merge, they get to use it together. But just like, I mean, she just, like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
And here's just because you were right on the money there. The boomerang mechanic is the worst part about this. And I think it's why we're not seeing more Billy, because they probably got to the end of this season and were like, oh, none of them boomeranged, right? Like none of them came back to anyone. So the whole
Right.
point of this is stupid. They should have had a rule that was like, if this idol isn't used the first time someone goes to tribal, then it boomerangs back to the person. But that should have been information not told to the person who receives it. too.
Right. Or that person boomerangs it to somebody else.
Sure.
Like-
yeah, anything that would make it be anything would have been
Right.
great. So, like, I do think Genevieve got the short end of the stick on this in many ways. And part of the fun of Survivor is the fact that there are going to be things out of your control and you can outwit as much as you want, but it's not very exciting to watch.
The thing is like, what are you even doing the first 12 days making connections with people on your tribe or during journeys or whatever, like, to only then end up in a tiny group of 5 people where one of them already has immunity? Like, what is even the point of the social part of the game then? Like, if you're not going to be able to take the inroads that you've made and cumulatively use them during the game, like, this is so insane that they had to do 3 tribes of, 5 or whatever. Like, at least make it 2 tribes.
I have thoughts on this and I'm going to save for my advice, but you're absolutely correct. And the part that's tough for me here, not to be too redundant, is that Genevieve, I think, got a terrible edit in terms of, in my Bravo world, right? Like, they gave her an edit to make her look like a villain, I think. And now, of course, you can't get a bad edit without doing some, quote, bad things, but bad is in the eye of the beholder, right? But why isn't Aubrey getting that same, like, why is it directed as Genevieve is like the perpetrator?
Because maybe Aubrey wins.
That could be it. That could be it. And
Also-
Aubrey is a big candidate for winning.
I mean, I
because
called
of-
that in episode 2 or something.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think Genevieve's edit was bad. I think it was like
painting her as the aggressor of the Aubrey Genevieve anger or dislike of each other.
It makes her look bad because it didn't work out.
Yes.
Because
that's
it
what I'm
was
saying.
because like her efforts were fruitless. Like it makes
Right.
it look frivolous, right? Or like misguided.
If she didn't waste so much time with this beef, maybe she could, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm thinking people will extrapolate from that if they're stupid.
like, it's so dumb. And like, Rizzo has that idol and he doesn't know it was from Genevieve. So she was the only person to manage to keep that a secret. And like, it's almost like she was like, it's like a baseball pitcher throwing a perfect game, and then the last batter's up, and the umpire calls ball 4 instead of a strikeout. Like, what do you like? Don't like ruin the game for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, Applebee's.
I'm really angry.
I know.
Applebee's.
And by the way, you've been holding on to this. For those who don't know, we record this on Fridays, so Jess has been ruminating. And I guess that I didn't realize what a huge piece of like your mind's landscape this show is. I don't think I really knew. Like, I think I knew you were really into it. I don't think I really understood until we started talking about this. But the Applebee's thing, I was disgusted. I'm sorry. I've been to Applebee's like once or twice in college. It was sort of one of the things, but if I'm going to have to pick a fast casual, I'm going with Chili's, okay?
Oh, of course.
But Applebee's, I've never had a good experience there where I'm like, oh yeah, like I'd love to grub on some Applebee's. And I'm like, that's not a good ad. That like you have these starving people who will probably eat anything. But like also the idea of like mozzarella sticks on on a Fijian island is like so gross to me. Like I'd just be like, you can keep the food. I'll do double cocktails. Like I'll just
No,
do
that blue
scorpion
drink
bowl.
looked so gross to me.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's
but
a drink
The
Brittany
bowl?
Cartwright would be
Yes.
having at her parties. Um,
how about like a mid cut of beef on a skillet? And I will say I've
you wanted
taken
to see
a
people rip people
progressive.
apart, but did you want to see them rip ribs apart? That's what I want to know.
Not really, no. And I know that it's like a meme in like the Survivor world. When I watched it back, I was like, oh, some of the people are like laughing that it's Applebee's and not just so relieved.
Mhm.
So I assume that they've been before, but I wanted to get violent when Chrissy said, not even the first person to make this joke, hey, you know what we're doing? We're eating good in the neighborhood. I was like, I wanted to be like, shut up. I would have lost. I
Yeah, I
think I would
turned
have
off the
lost it.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So on Charlie's original season, there was Applebee's reward, and this woman, Liz, hadn't gotten like any rewards. There was like 7 or 8 people left. Q won the reward, and he could take like 3 people or 2 people. So he picks the first person, he picks the second person, and I mean, like, everybody thinks he's gonna pick Liz, and he does not. And she has like the funniest breakdown of the entire new era. She's the person who goes, "I'm pissed," that they did like a flashback to a few episodes ago. Like, just absolutely loses her mind. And I mean, so there is an iconic Applebee's moment. So that also might be why, like, you know,
Do
people
they
are
have a
laughing.
long-standing relationship with the show, though? Like, how far
I think so.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I at first, I think it used to be Outback, and
Yeah.
Sandra, who has previously won 2 times, sort of was like the first person to be like, I love the bloomin' onion. Almost like she was making her own TV commercial because she just like will take advantage of the opportunities, and that's why she's a good Survivor player. Because this is like 20 years ago now.
Was she on Traders?
Yes. Yeah, she was the one that did the pool balls.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
was one who's too smart for everyone who joins the traders. What I will say though is that, Liz has this huge moment, but I put the GIF in our group chat of what I think is the bigger Survivor Applebee's moment. And that is when they moved on from Outback, and, we knew we were going to get an Applebee's moment in pretty much the next handful of seasons. And a player named Karishma gets a confessional where she's like, Applebee's is my favorite sit-down restaurant. And I was just like, damn. And she was not joking. Like, it was
Well,
so...
that's the thing. I worry
Yeah.
about my coastal elitism because, like, we just didn't really have a lot of chain restaurants in my part of Massachusetts to begin with. But I realize that Applebee's is the best restaurant in someone's town, but like when you don't grow up eating it, it looks gross to you. And so I have a little bit of elitism with it. And I know that there's probably someone watching this or listening to this who's thinking like, wow, she's such a snob. She's terrible for feeling that way about Applebee's. But I'm sorry. It's just, I think we all have one. Right?
I
Where
think
we're like, "I'm not
everyone
there."
knows what Applebee's is. You know what I mean? And it is... And if you want a chain restaurant to be your favorite restaurant, that's fine. But there's plenty of ones that aren't. Barbecue sauce, like come on.
No, I mean, I will. And also, if anyone is mad at me, don't worry. I have a boyfriend who tortures me with shit like that, like where he loves it. Like he's from North Carolina. He loves a thing like that. So anyway, the challenge I thought this was the kind of challenge I wanted to see. And I'm glad that we got this. I like people staying in one spot. And I liked that this looked really hard. And it wasn't like, sure, I can believe that a lot of them are really hard, and that, but I think it's because with some of the tasks, like they're janky. You know what I mean? Like those blocks look jank to me when they were doing that puzzle last week, or like that thing Cirie had to throw looked jank. So I'm like, maybe part of it's hard because it's like a cheap prop, but this was really about endurance, and I just thought that was like a great watch. Shout out to Stephanie's mom. I wonder how she feels about her bunions and callus or whatever.
She's going to be happy
Genetic.
that she got a shout out.
Yeah.
I like how the steps on the sides got significantly smaller because that was like gave the women more of a chance since they have tinier feet. So I liked how, like it's not just like, oh, like some dude can just like put his arms up and hold the whole time. Also, I'm not sure if Christian maybe cheated when
I
he was
saw
like
that too.
leaning against the wall. Like I'd like a real-time instant replay on that.
Yeah, he was cheating by like kind of using his hand as a buffer between his shoulder
Yeah.
and the wall.
Yeah,
And
like
I love Cirie seeing like someone like her endurance, right? Because like there
Mhm.
was like some of the older people did very well, I thought.
Stephanie won the whole thing.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, hell yeah. Like I thought that was a great challenge. I wasn't aware that Colby was so fucked up.
Yeah, I guess he also had a staph infection as well.
Christ. Yeah.
So
Damn.
he like for sure was gonna be sent out.
So the one thing I want to say about this is we were discussing it as well is, the idea is, well, Colby's going to get medevaced, so let's vote out coach.
Mhm.
And I do think like on paper, that is like the move, 2 for
Yes.
1. But I like that Cirie, I think what's not being said is Cirie's like, don't do him like that. The man's in his 50s. He came to play Survivor. This is his last time. Let's give him the out that is like respectful. And I think that's why they were like, we're going to vote him out so he gets a moment. No one wants to be medevaced out. So if it's between that and just getting him out this point anyway, let's just get him out. We know coach ain't winning this thing. And I like that. That's what I took from it. And because I think that shows Cirie's like love of the game.
I did not take it like that. I took it as production massaged it so that everybody would agree to vote Colby out.
Do you think it was as
Like-
massaged as the guy who got bit by the snake on the same day his kid was born?
Oh, that was the most massaging ever. I mean, that
Yeah.
was like a happy ending massage, that thing. But this, I don't know. I feel like because the logic was too good of getting a 2 for 1, I don't think that Cirie would just like so easily be like, nope, like I'm not even going to try to convince you anymore. I feel like at some point, maybe, a producer gave her a wink and was like, try harder. Or a producer was like, okay, well then like, something. I just feel like there's something in there that was like protection.
I want to live in a world where Cirie just loves the game and was
Well,
able
maybe
to
she
convince-
does.
I know. You're most likely right. Molly, how did you take it?
That Colby was taken out. I mean, I thought it felt like a bad plan to me. Like whoever, sort of nailed that down. It was really funny watching Coach say to D, like, Colby's a mess. Like, he's like, this guy's a shit show or whatever he was saying. Watching him talk shit about Coach or about Colby like that was very funny to me. And it almost happened so quickly that I'm not really sure how Colby was the one that got eliminated. It just happened so quickly for me. So I guess, I kind of agree with Jess. I didn't really have an initial instinct about it, but I could see Jess being right that they didn't want it to be another Kyle situation. I think also that makes them look like a little reckless as a show, that like 2 people had to be medvaced out.
Well, I also can't get the image of like Emily, like a pit bull, like drooling as if she was like ready to pounce on Colby's foot like it was a steak and just like, go in for the kill. Like the way that her and Dee were like, he's going to get medevaced out. He's going to, oh my God. Like they were like frothing at the mouth about that, which it's a cutthroat game for $1 million. Like you should be like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And then I guess who else who is the third? Oh, we talked Genevieve. Okay, Camilla. I think we should go back to Camilla and how Jonathan did that. Because like, who knew that he had the cachet to pull something like that off.
I'm still not convinced he does, but is this also a good time for us to discuss what jury means and what a shot in
Yeah.
the dark means, Jess? Do you think?
Sure.
So, first of all, and I know we might run a little bit longer than we had planned, but I think these are important things before we go into like truly merged territory Survivor. I think, Jess, because you might be able to explain this because you've seen it probably more recently than I. Jonathan's last, like, kind of what Jonathan's known for on the Drea out voting situation.
I unfortunately cannot speak to that.
Well, here's what I will tell you I remembered then, Molly. It was a season where, for whatever reason, every person of color was getting voted out on their team. And there was nothing like malicious about it. But then it became a point where one of the women made a comment about this. And she brings up that there's like unconscious biases and there are things that people like don't even recognize. But Survivor has had a history of, having like white winners or people of color getting voted off early and in an order. And Jonathan gets very defensive about people calling him racist. And I think he's forever trying to like take this back. But of course, Survivor also had John Rocker on the show. So he's by far not anywhere close to the worst human beings that could be on this show in any way. But I think he is seen as untrustworthy in alliances because he can't see the forest for the trees a lot of times when stuff's going on. And so I think going into this moment, he thinks he's like redeeming himself and being a good player and smart move. But he's not seeing not seeing the forest for the trees that, this is just going to bite you in the ass the next episode. Now, not all of these things like interconnect and like have to do with one another. But I think it paints a continued failed like sight on how communities work through Jonathan's like habits.
I think that he would rather get beat by other old men than by crafty young women of color.
That is a lot more succinct way of saying it than me, so I like this.
So I think that's why he went with that alliance instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean he's a God guy, He's Stations of the Cross. I'm the one carrying the cross guy.
That's really interesting. Don't know anything about his past, but I am just tempted to I side with you, Jessica, on that. I think I side with both of you, frankly, but like I think that that is very true of a lot of like white men in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because they had just played him for a fool on the last vote with Charlie.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
I think that unfortunately, there was no way for Camilla to know that she was going to end up on a bullshit tribe of 5 people and have this, get back to her the very next vote.
And also, he was the only man on that tribe as well. So, there are some parallels that we're seeing go here. He's frantic when he can't work with his boys,
Well, like he seemed very threatened. And, I know he was sort of asking Dee. It felt like a circular conversation, which is another thing that sort of made me like kind of feel like Dee was chaotic.
She's just playing him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like he was just like, do you think that I can still play with you? And she said something. He's like, no, but do you think I can still play with you? And it was the same question twice. And I was just like, I just didn't know. I didn't know what wasn't connecting between the two of them, but I feel like he really distrusts her.
I think that she didn't want to outright say like off, I don't think she wanted to totally burn that bridge, but I don't think she's interested in driving over that bridge, like driving on that bridge.
Oh yeah, no, I figured that that's what she was doing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I was surprised that he just felt immediately that he was so on the outs when it was like, well, they probably just weren't telling you because of this one person, exactly like they said. They probably just weren't telling you because it was Charlie, and just like they said it was. But maybe in this game, all you have is time to overthink. So Shot in the Dark, Rob, I think I do know what that is based off of what happened this week. I think they get this idol and then they give it to Jeff. And I don't know where the piece of paper comes from, but he said it's like a random 1 in 6 chance or something that you get this thing. Therefore the name. But like, Where'd that paper
Yeah.
come from?
So at the beginning of the game, everybody gets like a die, like a six-sided die with their name on it. They hang on to it, and that's their shot in the dark. And if they want to use it, you can only use it once during the game. If you want to use it, then when you go to vote, you tell the producer, I want to use it, and you don't get to vote that night. And instead, you put your hand into a bag and you have a 1 in 6 chance of pulling out a scroll that says safe, and the other 5 say not safe. And if it's safe, then all the votes against you don't count, and the next person goes home.
Okay.
And it's worked like once.
Twice.
I was
twice,
gonna say,
okay.
I feel like that probably doesn't even happen once in a blood moon. Like it happens like
Oh.
never.
It happened twice, but what I think the best play of it ever was Rachel, who was on on season 47, had an idol, and she didn't know if she should use it or not. So she took her shot in the dark out and played it, and everybody was looking at Jeff to see if it said safe or not safe, but she was looking at the jury at her tribe's faces to get their reaction, and they had no reaction. So she read it like, oh, no one voted for me. I don't have to waste my idol tonight.
Got
And
it.
so she that was like a new innovative way to play it, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. I want to see her on another season.
Yeah.
And I really liked her. And in terms of the jury, Molly, now anyone that gets voted off, starting next episode, anyone that gets voted off sits on a jury and watches every single tribal council. So anytime they go to tribal, they can watch all of the arguments, all of the discussion. They don't get to see anyone during the day or anything. They only get to sit in a tribal council. And then when it's down to the last 3, you want votes. And it's the jury that votes for you to get that money.
And that's when they finally get to ask questions.
So with the live reveal, right? How does that work? Like, is the jury reassembled, and like, how does that work?
Well, this is what they did for like the first 10 seasons, I think. Basically, everything happens on the island or wherever they were filming, and then it goes in, the jury goes to vote. Jeff brings out the bucket of votes, and he's like, and we'll see you back in LA in 6 months or whatever. And so no one knows anything and stays quiet until the like Andy Cohen style reunion show, where the first thing that happens is Jeff reveals who wins, and then they go into like, so what was it like playing on the island?
I wish it was an Andy Cohen style reunion show.
Well, no kidding. It would be so much better if it actually was.
I saw a clip of Jeff on Twitter
on a ski-doo after.
where he confronted, I guess, a contestant like Courtney, I think her name was, and was like, so you anorexic? Like, what's going on? Like, he's like, you eat, you don't eat? Like, what's happening?
Yep.
And
I mean, that
it's so of the era. Like, if I were to
Yes.
guess, like, that was something that people asked each other that I could see Jeff not even going there now, but it was so like blunt and frankly evil.
That's a iconic reunion with like all that Denise Lunch Lady stuff too.
God, Denise, I can't get over Denise. Anyway, we'll have to.
So like in the beginning, they used to, at the final tribal council, basically they could ask anything, and so they would ask like really nasty stuff.
It was brutal.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching this on TV, nasty stuff.
Should I just watch the first few like couple finales?
Like somebody was like, I will vote for you if you get your vocal cords surgically removed. Do you agree to that?
I mean, it's in America's Next Top Model era, right? Like it was insane.
I mean,
and yes, Molly, watch some compilations because it's wild.
Okay.
So that was when that woman Natalie asked Parvati how it resonated in the bedroom, how her Survivor playing resonated in the bedroom. Now they are like much more under control, and like they each get to like basically say one thing or ask one thing. And we're not shown like every person answering the same question. So like that's annoying.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the tribal council is long enough that they show us. I feel like they stretch the finale out too long when there's only like 4 people left. And I would rather see more tribal council like arguing for your game.
Yeah. But it is interesting when it flips. But I do think there's going to be value of going back and watching old ones, like really old ones, to compare it to 50. for
Yeah,
sure.
the show's definitely like it's just inherently lame in a way that I
Sure.
didn't expect, I'm interested in the fact, like I do feel like we've lost some recipes in an effort to sort of advance society past like the very primitive place that I feel like we lived for a very long time very comfortably until there's been like more social change in recent years that was like very long overdue. I feel like we have sort of like overcorrected. If I go to see like if I see Jeff as the guy who at one point was just being like, "So you do you eat or not?" And then now this guy that's doing a fucking Applebee's commercial and rapping and just it's like just the cheese factor is just over the top. And maybe he's also tamed with old age, but you said it last week, just bring back mean Survivor. I am of the opinion that like without seeing more of this show clearly took a hit when we were doing some like much needed wokeifying as a society, you know? Okay, wait. So let's do advice. Does anyone want to go
Yes.
first?
I can go first because my advice isn't unique. I've seen a lot of people with a similar take, so I'll keep it short. This is advice to probably Jeff, but to the game and production as a whole. Which was Blood Moon was nothing. It was nothing. I don't even know what people were looking at. Probably the Blood Moon, but they like every try was like, "Wow, oh my god, orange light." I'm like,
Yes.
"What the fuck is going on here?"
I know. Yeah. Sorry.
Didn't make any sense to me, and it wasn't very thrilling to just sit through 3 tribals personally. And, the Colby speech was, I liked hearing it. I liked, seeing blind sides even if I didn't want Camilla to go home. I these are entertaining things, but as a whole, it just really felt like it drug on and it would have been so much more exciting. This is the advice. Do this next time, Survivor.
Yeah.
Say 3 people are getting eliminated and send everyone to tribal at once so that you can strategize all you want. But what if my linchpin vote goes home first or second, right? Like you won't be able to plan. And also something that we haven't seen this season, Molly, that you see all the time in Australia, and you oftentimes you'll see it on this show from time to time. Like people will get up and start whispering to someone else, like, "Oh, I'm changing my mind. I'm doing this."
Mhm.
And those are the most fun tribal councils. And that's what we haven't had yet and what we could have got if that was the case. So the advice to production, you're not fooling anyone. Get a little bit more weird with it. Take risks, and not risks that are made in a boardroom, right? Not like, this ain't it. So that's my advice.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I was joking with Eric about how, like, what these Survivor fans don't understand is that I'm the most important viewer. They'll show up to any slop show, but like, I'm the one they have to hook, right? I'm the newbie. So, like, and of course, I'm kidding a little bit. But that said, as someone this type of like this trickery of just sort of like we got to get you to watch next week for a show that I think is like guaranteed ratings blockbuster for them for the most part, like don't. I'm tired. We're too advanced as a society to be we're living in a world of like people, even like grandmas calling out clickbait and like people, calling out AI and stuff like that. Well, it's like this sort of like you'll never believe next week thing is so played. And yeah, I will just give my advice next because I want Jess to do her big one. I think it's best sometimes when we end with Jess because she always has a great thing to say. I'll just say I'm not trying to cage a wild and beautiful bird, okay, with someone like D, but I have to. Like, you guys have to get a hold of D. Someone like Charlie, like, that's to me, that's a waste of this because he just wasn't going to voting him out is a waste. He wasn't going to make power moves, I don't think. Someone like Mike White, like, the guy couldn't even stay at the Ponderosa after, right? He had to go get his special vegan food. That's not someone who's like long for the game, I don't think.
Yeah.
And so they need to start getting out power players. And I know it's not going to be Suri, which is like the craziest thing in reality TV that everyone knows she just plays the most sickening social game, and like she gets to just sit back and watch everyone else do, like, basically deal with how good she is at sort of getting people on her team or whatever. But like someone like a D is who you need to go after, because after this episode, there were several moments where I was like, this chick's like crazy. Get
Why?
rid of
Should I
her.
gamble?
Yeah. So that's my advice.
My advice is for the producers. If you're gonna like do nonsense like this, where you're dividing the tribes on a returnee season, then bring back schoolyard picks. Schoolyard pick is like you have like this could have worked where there were 3 captains, and say it was like Coach, Sari, and Christian. So Christian picks a person for his team. He picks Devins. Sari picks Ozzy. Coach picks Colby. And then like Colby then gets to pick a person, and so on and so forth. So at least you have a little bit more of your fate in your hands. And even if you pick it before you see what the challenge is, then you don't know if you're going to be working together or
Yep.
against each other. So that's strategizing. But like there's all these opportunities to have actual strategy. And instead, we're just putting our hand in a bag and picking out a thing. And that's how it's happening. And like it also reveals like who you're picking reveals things, you know, like I didn't know Christian and Devins were like number ones with each other or whatever. Like any opportunity to like show strategy or get to use strategy should be encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Show, don't tell, honey.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Well, thank you so much for everyone who listened to this Plz Survive episode, you guys. This was fun, and I hope that I anchored okay for the people out there who have been picking up all this Blood Moon content. And yeah, we'll be here next week to have another conversation. And this was a blast, you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Remember to you want advice from us? Contact at pleasesurvive.com. Send us a voice message. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple or something, people. Send this to your group text. It's very important that we grow.
It's time to grow.
Yeah.
Follow us on all the socials at Plz Survive Pod, PLZ Survive Pod.
Yep. And I think we're making inroads, by the way, in the Survivor
Oh,
world. I was
absolutely.
asked to be on a Survivor YouTube show this week, and I was like, fucking making it, baby. Like, are you kidding me? But yeah, so, and also reach out to us if you want to collab. All right. So thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next week. Be safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.